So, namaste guys. We are again came back here for another discussion video, and today's topic is very interesting: Israel-Gaza, or we can say that Israel-Hamas war, or I would not term it as a war. I would term it as a security. I think a military operation by Israel to eliminate the terrorist camps in the operating in the Gaza Strip. So. To join with the discussion today, we have esteemed personalities, former ambassador to Israel, and have also served in Egypt, Mr. Shagnik Majumdar. Welcome, Shagnik.
Thank you for your comments.
We have with us Mr. Pradeep, who has been representative of India in the United Nations Security Council, and he has represented India when India was the non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. And today with us, Ms. Komal Gupta, Red Cross Society worker, who is working to provide humanitarian assistance in the Gaza war hit Gaza. So welcome all
Thank you.
esteemed personalities. So starting with Shagnik, can you please explain us what is this? I have seen many in many places that certain personalities or in around the world, or say that liberal people around the world, are defending this October 7 Hamas attack as saying that you should not see this attack in silos and see the historical build up that has led to Hamas attacking on the civilians of the Israel. That means indirectly or indirectly they are defending this attack on the Hamas. So how will you see that to the how will you see this reaction of the so-called liberal or the mainstream society around the world?
Well, no matter what people are saying, it's definitely a terrorist attack that should be condemned across the board. Because terrorists have no race, no caste, no class, no religion. Okay, they are terrorists, and there should be no difference between good terrorists and bad terrorists. I know that the Palestinians have lost their land in 1948, and they won their land back, but that should be done in a peaceful manner through negotiation and diplomatic channels with the Israeli government instead of resorting to terrorism like what Hamas has done. And moreover, the worldwide reaction in favor of Hamas, I think it is born out of ignorance of the history, of truth, of the ground reality. And if people come to know about what the situation is, that Israel, the Jews were also out of their homeland for the last 1,000 years, and it is only in the last century, after the Second World War, that they got back their homeland. So I think if anyone wants to comment on this ongoing conflict, they should first analyze the historical background. I know that just because Israelis are oppressed, do they have any right to oppress the Palestinians in present times? But that doesn't mean that Palestinians also have a right to take to terrorist means to frighten innocent Israeli civilians who have nothing to do with this conflict. I mean, Hamas, their terrorists have stormed into Israeli territory. They have broken into Israeli homes, abducted civilians, men, women, children, and elderly people, and they have even committed acts of sexual violence on women. I mean, just one day after the conflict, I was watching a video on Instagram where Hamas terrorists were spitting on a woman from Germany. She was in her 20s. She was killed by the Hamas terrorists and was then paraded naked through the streets of Gaza. So I think these are the things that people should keep in mind when they condemn the actions of either Israeli side and Hamas as well. So that's my opinion.
Yes, very rightly said, Shagnik. You have mentioned about the historical figures that if we want to go back into the history, why just going back to just 70 years history, why we do not go beyond that 1,000 years. So coming to Pradeep, I would like to know from you that if anything happens around the world, like US becomes you can say the teacher of the world and started condemning on the basis of human right violation, anything happens around the world, be it in India or anywhere else. But why do you think that when it comes to Israel, even though although they are acting against the terrorists, but again there is they should show some restraint that they should not attack the civilians also. But we have seen that Israel in the last 70 years, on the pretext of eliminating terrorists, have also done certain atrocities on the innocent civilians also. But when it comes to defaming or say denouncing that attack on the civilians, USA doesn't say anything about that. So why do you think? What do you think about that? That Israel is acting as a satellite state of the Western powers into the Arabian heartland to gain their to gain or their strategic strength, or what do you say?
Okay. Uh, First of all, we need to understand the whole sequence of events. On October 7, when Hamas attacked on Israel, definitely the kind of attack Hamas inflicted on the Israel, it was a severe attack and it should be condemned. But after later on, the actions taken by Israel were, exacerbated in terms of the reaction that should have happened. Means initially Israel was a kind of victim of the terrorism, but after that event, Israel has taken advantage of that attack and started a you know wholehearted war against the Gaza Strip. And Gaza Strip and the Hamas are not in position to fight with a well armed and one of the superior army of the Israel. So, and the coming to your main question, that why US is showing kind of hypocrisy when it comes to human rights in other parts of the world. For instance, when it comes to Sri Lanka, US become forerunner of human rights advocate. It condemn the human rights violation, but when it comes to its allies, be it in Ukraine or be it now in Israel, US shows its clear geopolitical interest in the West Asian regions. We need to understand the geopolitical reality of the West Asia, because we should know that in the West Asia, USA has interest, though its interests are diminishing because of its decreasing reliance on the fossil fuel from the Arab worlds. But still, their main rival in the West Asian region is Iran. And to counter Iran in the West Asian region, the only power that has, that kind of strength, power, military, nuclear capability in the region is Israel. So when it comes to condemning the human rights violation inflicted by Israel in Gaza on the people of Gaza, so that it because of this, US is not condemning anyone. US is came in support of Israel. As we saw that after the attack by Hamas on October 7, the US President Joe Biden visited the Israel and showed solidarity with the Israel. So from the history itself, Israel has played a kind of uh, its important allies role in the West Asia region in countering the Iran's influence in the region. So this is the reason US is not condemning the kind of human right violation is taking place in the Gaza Strip, and we need to understand this reaction of USA in this context.
Okay, thank you, Pradeep. Now coming to Komal, uh, as Pradeep has said that Israel is acting as a satellite state or say ally of the US in the Middle Eastern region, and we have seen that Middle Eastern region have seen several conflict in the last 2 decades, and be it Iran with Iran, or say Saudi Arabia, or in the Yemen civil war the recently going on, or in the Iraq Syria conflict. So I was reading a report that US companies, especially the US defense stocks, see a $30 billion surge after the October 7 Hamas attack. And Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, there are two important companies, defense companies of the USA. They have gained, they are the biggest gainer in the due to this war, and their gain has surpassed the last 30 years record. So so how do you think that this war is actually being propelled by not the real issues like Israel Palestine, or being propelled by these defense companies to earn profit over the longer time?
See, the issue that the question that you're asking, it has a long history actually. As you said that the disturbance in Middle East and the US companies, since we need to understand that the arm industry is one of the biggest industry of this US, and they contribute huge in their GDP. So the thing is this, I was also reading a recent yesterday in newspaper. Yeah, there was an article that Ukraine, they have paid money to the West US based companies, but not have received this arms, etc. Yes, we need to agree with this thing that somewhere, whenever any crisis or war happens, the Western armed countries, they get benefited. One of the reason is also because they are the one who dominate this field. That one might be reason. If there will be more players, maybe the domination will be less. And the next allegation that you aroused, that somewhere they are behind, or like their connection to this issue. So directly, it is hard to say like that, but we all know that in geopolitics, everybody sees their benefit and try to get whatever benefit they can get. So we cannot deny this possibility also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Komal. And taking forward this question to Shagnik, I would like to know from Shagnik that I was seeing another report that U.S. military department has released that this fiscal year, that is 2022 to 2023, the sale of the arms by the U.S. companies, only U.S. companies, not anyone else, has crossed $200 billion dollars. And this has seen a 49% surge from the last fiscal year. And also Israel, the defense export from the Israel has also rose, and Israel is also one of the top 10 exporters of the arms in the world, and it is ahead of the India as well. And one most amazing fact that I came to know that although these Arab countries keep on condemning Israel for the atrocities that they are committing in the Palestine area, but the 24% of the total arms that has been exported by Israel were imported by these Arab countries. And so, how do you see this development, and like condemning on one hand the atrocities of the Israel, and buying arms on the other hand, and how do you see this development of the geopolitics in the uh, Middle Eastern region, especially after the Abraham Accords were signed?
This is because the Arab world itself is divided into many blocks based on religious differences, such as Shia and Sunni dispute. On the one hand, there is a Shia regional power like Iran, and on the other hand, there are Sunni powers like Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries such as Kuwait and Qatar. So these Sunni powers, they are inching closer to Israel because they don't want Iran to get powerful in the region. Because Iran, over the years, through its proxies like Hezbollah, is increasing its clout over the region and over regional affairs. And Israel, being one of the major regional economic and military powers, as well as a political powerhouse, these Sunni powers need Israel to deal with the crisis and threat from Iran. So that is why, on the surface, they are condemning the violence carried out by Israeli army in Gaza, because this is just, I think, strategy to show solidarity with the people from the people of Palestine. This is a common Arab solidarity type of thing. But below the surface, they are cooperating with Israel on various fronts, on diplomatic front, on military, political, and economic front, because they want this kind of help from Israel to both help themselves emerge as regional powers, uh, and to avoid the emergence of Iran as another regional powerhouse. Because these countries are afraid of Iran, that if Iran emerges as a regional power, then their national interests may be threatened. So I think that is why they are, on one hand, condemning Israel while on the other they are buying arms and other type of weapons from it. So that's what I think.
Okay, thank you, Shagnik. Now coming to Pradeep. Pradeep, we have seen certain engagement of Israel along with the Arab world in the form of we have seen I2U2 group, the Middle Eastern Quad that is referred as, and we have also seen the certain connectivity projects that were being proposed. I think in the G20 meetings, G20 meeting, the India Middle Eastern Europe corridor. So. And especially after this attack, how do you see that what is the future of this first India Middle Eastern Europe corridor, and the alternate route to it that was built by the Russia, Iran, and India, from the international north south transit corridor that was going through the Bandar Abbas port of the Iran. So do you think that there is some conspiracy going on from the side of Iran, or say even China, that they don't want that Middle Eastern path to be used for the trade purposes between trade connectivity between India and the Western powers, and moreover, if Israel and other Arab powers came together, this will be a great loss for the Iran as well as Russia as well. So how do you see this development?
See, we need to go before this conflict, and I believe the Abraham Accord brokered by the Trump administration was the turning point in the geopolitics of the West Asian region, because the Abraham Accord brought various Arab powers and Israel together. Because at the end of the day, what matter in geopolitics is national interest, and these Arab countries were, aware that the cause of Palestinian state is not as relevant as it was in 1950s or 60s. So keeping their national interest ahead, so they were, formalizing relation with Israel. We saw it in the form of the Abraham Accord. And before this attack, this Hamas attack on Israel, there were talks going on the backdrop that US is again on the on the cusp of brokering a deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia and Israel were actually on the cusp of making any agreement for formally Saudi Arabia was in on the cusp of recognizing Israel formally and setting their diplomatic relation. So, Hamas or the Palestinian supporters or the, I would say, Iran or the other like-minded countries were aware about these developments. So they saw it that if this chain of formalization of relation between Israel and the other Arab countries will keep going on, so the cause of Palestinian will be sidelined completely. So I think this attack by Hamas again brought the issue of Palestinian in the forefront, because now Saudi Arabia compelled to stop its talk with the Israel, stop whatever developments they were planning to have. And the other initiative, as you mentioned, like the I2U2 group, and as India also announced the India Middle East Europe economic corridor that went through Saudi Arabia and through Israel and ultimately will reach to Europe. So definitely for the time being, in the immediate future, this conflict will have effect on these developments. But as various diplomat and foreign affair experts have said, that this conflict in the long term will not affect these regional groups and the development of the India Middle East Europe economic corridor. And recently US ambassador to India also mentioned that though it will affect in the immediate term the development of these I2U2 and the India Middle East Europe economic corridor, but in the long term they are optimistic about its development. And I think it will benefit India as well, because when we talk about the north south economic corridor that passing through Iran and Central Asian countries and then Europe. So we have a good connectivity to this United Arab Emirates and these countries. So if we will have connection from West Asian countries to Europe, it will benefit us as well. So in the immediate term, definitely it will kind of stop their progress, but in the long term, various experts have said they are optimistic that it will not affect the development of these groupings.
Okay, thank you, Pradeep. Now coming to Komal. Komal, I would like to know from you that when UN was formed in 1945, their mandate was to stop the ongoing wars and uh, wars in the world. But we have seen that whatever job that has been commissioned to the United Nations, be it the Kashmir issue or the Israel-Palestine issue or Vietnamese war, Korean war, even the Afghanistan crisis or Iraq crisis, whatever we have seen, and recently we have seen that United Nations also failed to stop the wars between Russia and Ukraine, and also the recently concluded Israel-Hamas war. So, and given that the five P5 Security Council member, that the permanent five member, they are the largest exporter of the arms in the world, and as per the report, the total export of the arms that happens in the world, of that, three-fourths of the total are exported by these P5 countries only. So, how do you think that since they have their own interests attached to these ongoing conflict, so how do you think that UN will wholeheartedly put efforts to stop wars around the world, especially with respect to this ongoing Israel-Hamas war, where so many innocent civilians are losing their lives and the death toll has already crossed 10,000. So, what are your take on this?
See, as you said, when United Nations was formed, its main purpose to further stop any kind of war as the world faced in form of world wars. But even after that, we have seen a lot of war, lots of in mostly in Middle East, and right now the current, as we have seen, Ukraine and Russia war. The question that you asked, like somewhere, what is the motive behind? As they are the most exporter, the P5 country, three-fourths of the arms are exported by them. I will take a stand over. I will try. Would like to say that, see, what happened when we need to understand that right now United Nations need a structural reform, because the P5 who are over there, they are mostly protecting their interest in spite of the fulfilling the objective of United Nations. And this issue has been raised by Global South, and that's why there is a demand to further expand that P5 group. Because, for example, in case of Russia, Ukraine, Russia clearly, he voted for veto against a resolution. Okay. So, and same, we see that China, in most of cases, China obstructs India. So all and again with Israel, US, anything, any resolution comes in United Nations against Israel, USA condemn, restrict it through its veto. So yes, right now the P5 is mostly used for their personal national interest, personal benefit. So the obvious solution would be proper structural reform of the United Nations, making it more inclusive. The P5 should be expanded. So that was all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Komal. Now coming back to Shagnik. Shagnik, there was an issue that has arisen in the recent time. We have seen that Afghan exodus that is being going on from the Pakistan side, but no media and no the so-called liberal society is raising that issue, and they are just crying foul over the atrocities that is being that is being done in the Gaza Strip. So how do you see this type of hypocrisy, and why do you often see that the cry for the Palestine is often coming from this region, this Indian subcontinent region, and why not the other issues like we have seen the Madhesi issues from the Nepal, and we are also seeing currently the atrocities that is being done in the Myanmar region, and the recent issue of the Afghanistan that was raised by one of the Afghanistan player after defeating the Pakistan in the World Cup match. So how do you see this development and this so-called hypocritic stand by the uh, people in the especially in the mainstream media and society?
See, you see, the media these days is quite biased because both on the liberal and conservative side, the media is funded by some politically, ideologically allied people. So, for example, in US, most of the media houses are funded by the Republican Party allies, and in India, most of the media houses are funded by the people close to the ruling dispensation. So, and moreover, when it comes to condemning actions, Israeli action in Palestine and the actions on the Madheshis and on the Rohingyas from Myanmar, I think people tend to condemn as an incident which is more in the limelight. I mean, I know that both Palestinian and as well as the Rohingya issue both are on the same level when it comes to their when both were in the limelight in recent times. But I think this is more of a because you see that when Rohingyas were coming to India, flocking to India, people condemned the actions of Myanmar army. Now, when there is a supposedly genocide going on in Gaza Strip, people are condemning the actions of the Israeli army. That is my opinion.
No, I'm asking with respect to the Afghanistan, the Afghans exodus from the Pakistan, which is going on recently. Have
Yes,
you?
even that was in news. I also came to know about that
Mm.
through news. That was in news, but that went under the sand because of the Palestinian crisis. Had
In
it
fact,
not been for the Palestinian crisis, then that would have been in the limelight as well.
in fact, it is way bigger than the Palestine issue, because I think more than 4 million of the Afghan people is being thrown out of the Pakistan, that are seeking asylum due to the ongoing crisis in the Afghanistan by the Taliban takeover. So coming to Pradeep, I want to know that when there was farm protest and CA, the Citizenship Amendment Act protest going on in India, and when government was taking action, government did not take any action against the protester, because we believe in democracy, true democracy. But when it comes to the protest in the support of Palestine in the Western countries, we have seen that many Western liberal democratic society has stopped these type of protest in their country, uh, who call themselves as the champions of democracy. So what do you think, why instead of doing such actions, the democracy index or so-called other indexes are being topped by these countries only, and even India allowing to protest even for non-rational reason, put thrown out of the democratic index, and termed as a flawed democracy? So what are your take on this?
See, developed countries use this word democracy, human right according to their interest, according to their convenience, wherever their interests suit, and so they use it accordingly. Means if their interest is using it in favorable terms, means if somewhere human rights or democracy is declining, then they will create so much havoc that, oh no, yeah, here democratic values are decreasing, human rights violation is taking place. But when it comes to Israel or the protests that are taking place in support of Palestine in Europe, we need to understand that the Western countries, be it US, Canada, or the mainland European countries like France, UK, they, when it comes to a world view of on any issue, they come united, and their foreign policies almost sync on such issues. So it is also the reflection of their foreign policies stand, that when it comes to their national interest, because their interest is in supporting Israel. So though they, say that we are democracy and we are the protector of democratic rights, human rights, but when it comes to their interest, so they use this as a tool according to their convenience. So definitely we are aware that West is a kind, they are this, so their hypocrisy. So we should not be surprised in this.
Okay, so finally coming on to the Komal. Komal, I would like to know, before coming to you, I would like to raise a anecdote in front of you, that when Sri Krishna went to Hastinapur on as a Shanti Dut before the beginning of the war, so he said a line that peace is not an option on which we should debate, but peace is a necessity. मतलब शांति कोई विकल्प नहीं जिस पे वाद विवाद किया जाए, शांति एक आवश्यकता है. He has said this. So in the light of this statement, how do you see that the peace prevail over the world, especially with the ongoing conflict between the Israel Hamas and the Russia Ukraine? How do you see that these events will change the course of the world in the respect of geopolitical interest, and the new world order will emerge after the war?
Okay. uh, Addressing your question in two parts. The first, like as Bhagwan Krishna said, peace, शांति विकल्प नहीं, शांति ही एक समाधान है. So yes, this is totally true when we can find this thing very true into present context, because see, war is I believe war, yes, it is not a solution. Whatever it happens to protect us, like Israel. It has to retaliate back to the Hamas terrorist attack. But the actual persons who are suffering it are the civilians, whether from both sides. In Hamas attack, also the civilians of Israel, they were the one who suffered, and whether Israel retaliation is right, wrong, uh, different persons may have different view, but we need to accept that the civilian over there, they are suffering. So that's why obviously peace is the solution only, but we need to also understand that to keep peace, sometimes war is necessary. Because I can remember there was a line from Kurukshetra written by Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. I can't recall the exact line, but the meaning was that कि अगर कोई अनैतिक कुछ करता है, उसके बाद कुछ युद्ध होता है, तो उसकी जिम्मेदारी युद्ध करने वाले की नहीं, जिसने युद्ध शुरू करवाया उसकी है. And going to your next question about changing world order. So there are two possibilities that yes, thing because it will opinions of world get divided when these issues are being raised. We have already seen that world has been in right now in two groups. One is supporting Israel, one is standing with Palestine. But I don't think in long run it will change a lot, because now world order is completely uh, mostly based on economic prospects. So every country is considering their interests, their economic things. So I don't think that in long term it will affect a lot.
Okay,
Thank you.
so wrapping
One
up
more
the
thing I would
yes.
like to, as you said, I would like to add that I just asked Sagnik that Afghanistan issue is not being raised as such much. So there is one more incident of Azerbaijan or Armenia.
Mhm.
Azerbaijan captured Nagorno-Karabakh, and they asked people to leave that, and in the fear of ethnic cleansing, millions of Armenians has to leave that place. So yes, we need to see the hypocrisy of world that at one place they are by choice they are standing with human rights, and at one place nobody is talking about Armenian people. So if such kind of distinction will happen, then a solution is a permanent world peace is difficult to achieve. Thank you.
Which this is a very good point raised by you, the Armenian crisis. So, wrapping up the discussion, I would like to know some concludatory remarks from each of our panelists. So, you can give your concludatory remarks in 2-3 lines if you want. So, starting with Shagnik.
I think no one can bring peace alone to any region. If Palestine wants to bring peace to the region, they can't do it alone. If Israel wants to bring peace to the region, they can't do it alone. So I think both Israel and Palestine should come together and find a solution and establish peace in the region. And they should also bring in other parties like other international partners such as UNSC, United Nations, and their international allies such as India, United States, and other P5 countries, so that long-lasting peace can be established in the region. So that's my opinion.
Okay, Pradeep.
See, violence is not the solution of any conflict, be it geopolitical or the historical conflict for the country. So the solution lies in the dialogue, because in the Israel-Palestinian issue, the only solution on which India also stands is the two-state solution. So along with the country of Israel, if a sovereign, independent Palestinian state will exist, then only can this Israel-Hamas or Israel-Palestinian conflict can be stopped. Because if since Israel is wanting that we do not recognize the existence of Palestinian state, but however strong the Israeli militaries or however powerful they are, if they will think that they will diminish this Palestinian cause completely, that is not going to happen by using violence. So the solution lies in discussion, dialogue, diplomacy, and it needs the intervention, mediation of other countries of the, be it from the West Asian regions, like in the recently Qatar has brokered a humanitarian pause for 4 or 5 days. So that ceasefire needs to be extended. Dialogue and diplomacy should take its place, and the only solution I believe is the two-state solution. It's Israel and the Palestinian state, then only this historical conflict can be resolved. Otherwise this will keep on conflicting again and again.
Okay, Komal, your take.
See, as many of you have suggested two-state solution for this problem, but what I think that after this Hamas attack, this solution, chances of getting fulfilling this solution has weakened, because since a non-state Palestine or it's a terrorist group Hamas has caused so much damage to Israel, so Israel will think twice giving um, a state to this Palestine. And another thing is that I would like to say that about Hamas. See, world has to condemn this terrorist attack, because, as many of you guys said, that there is no good or bad terrorism, and we need to also look into to the fact that whether the Palestinian people are also being hurt by Hamas or not. Are they using them as a human shield? That is a question. So the Palestinian people are very vulnerable, not because of Israel, but also because of Hamas. So that was my take. Thank you.
Okay, so conclusion of the video is, although the demand for two-state solution has been weakened by the Hamas attack, as mentioned by our panelist, but again, our esteemed panelist has mentioned that only dialogue and diplomacy and consensus-based orientation can solve the ongoing conflict, and only two-state solution and a sovereign Palestinian state state will be able to establish the permanent peace in the region. So with this concluding remark, I would like to end up the today's session. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.